Have you ever felt, I don't know, just stuck in a loop? You know, a habit, a thought pattern, a feeling that just won't let you go, no matter what you do. Well, today we're going to look at that whole struggle in a completely new way. We're reframing addiction not as some kind of weakness, but as a journey of consciousness that we can actually map out using this incredible metaphor of a skyscraper. Okay, let's get into it.
We have to start right here with this idea from Dr. Gabor Mate, because it just flips the whole script. Immediately, we're moving away from judgment and into compassion. What he's telling us is that addiction isn't about a lack of willpower. It's a deeply human, if misguided, attempt to cope with pain that feels unbearable.
And this is where it gets real for all of us, right? I mean, whether it's the endless scrolling on your phone, the habit of working yourself to the bone, or something you hold much closer, we've all felt it. That feeling of being driven by something we wish we could just control. This isn't some far-off problem. This is a totally human thing.
So, what are we actually talking about when we say addiction? Mate's definition here breaks it down so clearly. It's really a four-part cycle. First, there's a behavior that gives you a little bit of pleasure or relief. Then that relief makes you crave it. But that craving leads to some really negative consequences. And here's the kicker. Despite those consequences, you find you just can't give it up. That's the loop. That's the trap.
So where does a loop like that even start? Well, all the sources we're looking at point to the same thing. It starts with a wound. So often, this goes way back to childhood, a time when maybe our basic needs for safety, for connection, weren't fully met. Or maybe we went through some kind of trauma. That leaves us feeling disconnected and in pain, and we start looking for literally anything to make it hurt a little less.
And this breaks down exactly how that happens. It starts with the wound. Then, to protect ourselves, we build what the author L Lockwood calls masks, basically a personality we put on just to survive. But, and this is so important, these masks work by cramming our real, vulnerable emotions way, way down. But that pain doesn't just go away, it builds pressure. And we turn to addictive behaviors to try and manage that storm inside.
This whole process, it leads us down all the way down to the very foundation of our skyscraper. And this is a place where we're not just coping anymore, we are well and truly trapped. Welcome to the basement.
So I want you to picture your whole inner world, your thoughts, feelings, your awareness, as a giant skyscraper. The basement? That's the survival zone. Down here, there are no windows. The air feels heavy. Your entire reality is just concrete walls, and this constant feeling that you're under threat. Your focus gets tiny, narrowing down to just one thing: survive.
And get this isn't just a metaphor. Using something called the energetic scale of consciousness, this state can actually be quantified. It vibrates at a really low frequency, somewhere between 100 and 200 joules. What does that mean? Well, it's the dense, heavy energy of shame, guilt, fear, and anger. You can almost feel the weight of it, can't you?
Okay, so the big question is, why don't you just leave, right? Just take the stairs out. Well, this is where a really powerful psychological thing called learned helplessness comes in. See, when we believe, based on everything we've experienced, that nothing we do will change our painful situation, our brain makes a tragic but logical choice. It just stops trying. Down in the basement, giving up feels like the only sane thing to do.
So who are the guards keeping us locked in? Well, L Lockwood has this incredible name for them: ego insurgents. These are those internal characters, those powerful inner voices that were born from fear. They're the parts of us that whisper, "You have to control everything," or "You're a victim," or "You have to be perfect," or "Nobody will love you." They're running the show from the shadows.
Now, this is where it gets really hopeful. Check this out. On the left, you've got those ego insurgents that just dominate the basement. But look to the right, those amazing qualities of what's called our sacred self: resilience, wisdom, self-love. They haven't been destroyed. They've just been buried. This table, it's like a map of the internal conflict. It's the whole journey, from who we've learned to be back to who we really are.
And that right there brings us to the most hopeful part of this whole explainer. Nobody is doomed to live in the basement forever. There is a door, and behind that door is a stairway to recovery. Now here's the crucial part. The climb doesn't start by fighting fear with more fear. It starts with a total paradigm shift. It's like uninstalling an old, corrupt operating system that's based on fear and installing a brand new one that runs entirely on love, on compassion, on self-acceptance, a total reboot.
So how do you do that?
Well, there's a framework called the 10 Pathways Back to the Sacred Self, and each pathway follows this really simple but powerful 3-step process. First, you consciously choose to identify and let go of one of those ego insurgents. Then, in the space you just created, you actively start to recover its opposite, a true quality of your sacred self.
Let me show you how it works. So Pathway 6 is all about letting go of the victim. You know that part of us that feels powerless and believes life is just happening to us? The moment we release that story, we start to reclaim our natural resilience. We stop being defined by what happened, and we start taking responsibility for how we respond.
Or how about Pathway 9, letting go of the judge? Oh, we all know this voice, that relentless inner critic that's always telling us we're not good enough. By choosing to quiet that harsh voice, we create space for real wisdom to show up, a deep sense of self-acceptance, humility, and compassion for our own story. And maybe the biggest one of all, Pathway 1, letting go of the controller. This desperate, exhausting need to manage every single outcome, it comes from a deep fear that we just aren't okay as we are. When we can finally surrender that illusion of control, we recover the absolute foundation of all healing, self-love.
So as we walk these pathways, day by day, choice by choice, we start to climb. We ascend the skyscraper. We're moving out of that cramped, dark space of just surviving and into the light and the fresh air of actually thriving. Welcome to the penthouse.
Remember that heavy, low-energy field of the basement? Well, the penthouse is the polar opposite. It's the transcendence zone, vibrating way up at 900 to 1,000 joules. This is the light, expansive energy of peace and gratitude and joy. You can finally breathe up here. The air is clear. And what's so important to get is that life in the penthouse isn't defined by the absence of problems. It's defined by the presence of these qualities. It's a life filled with purpose, real connection, and a genuine desire to contribute. It's where you live with courage and gratitude, not as goals, but as your daily reality. It's thriving.
And this is so key, the penthouse is not some magic finish line where life's challenges just disappear. Think of it more as a new vantage point. From up here, you can see the whole city, the good and the bad, but with perspective, with clarity. You're not stuck down in the traffic and the noise anymore. You just have a higher view.
In the end, this whole skyscraper thing, it's just a map of our own inner world to help us understand where we are, how we got here, and the path forward. It's just a tool for awareness, and that brings us to the only question that really matters, the one you can ask yourself, right now, in this moment. Which floor are you on today?